In this lecture, we'll talk about the importance of goal setting. Lewis Carroll, who wrote Alice in Wonderland and was also a mathematician, wrote this: "If you don't know where you are going, any road will take you there." Discuss the merits of this quote, both pro and con arguments. A pro argument for this quote is you have goals for your life and your career, and so to achieve those, this quote would say you need to take steps to get there, and also benchmarks about, okay, by the time I'm 28 I need to be here, by the time I'm 33 I need to be here, those types of things. Now, on the flip side of this is the con argument, which means sometimes life takes you in paths that you did not intend, but they may be paths that you were destined to follow. Sometimes deviating from the planned course is not a bad thing. If I had to maybe put this all together into one cohesive argument that I would subscribe to, is I would say plan, but don't be so rigid in your planning that you cannot veer off into directions that were possibly unknown to you earlier. The second statement is name one major goal in your life. And it's really interesting because when I talk about the heading a certain way and then going a different way, that's kind of my life. When I got out of college, I wanted to be a facility manager, a plant manager by the time I was 30, early 30s, which I did achieve. I ran 3 facilities, 1 in Mexico and 2 in Minnesota, but that goal changed not long after I had a child, and when I had that child, my goal was I wanted to spend more time with that child. So that goal of moving up the corporate ladder changed for me, not necessarily for everyone, but changed for me. Goals versus plans. Goals deal with where you are headed. Plans provide the map to get there. So my goal was to be a plant manager. My plan was I wanted to be in this position at this age and then move up to this position at this age. That was my map. Without a plan, you only have a dream. In this lecture, the planning components are highlighted in green. George T. Duran developed a few guidelines for setting goals. He called them SMART goals. With a goal, he suggested that you be specific, that the goal be measurable, that it be attainable, it's relevant, and also time-based. To be specific, the goal should consider the following: what do I want to accomplish? Why do I want to do this? Who is involved? Planning. Where will it happen? Planning. Which things must I do to make it happen? So a goal is specific. You would not say, I want to be a better person, because it's not very specific. If I say I want to be more generous with my money, that's more specific. If I want to say I want to be able to devote 10% or 20% or 30% of my income to helping others, that's very specific. To be measurable, the goal must be concrete criteria. In the previous example, I said I want to be a better person would be too generic. But if I were to say I want to be able to set myself up to give 30% of my income away to other people that need assistance, that's pretty measurable. Attainable goals are realistic. You don't say, well, I want to give away 50% of my income. That's possible, but it may not be realistic considering your life needs. Relevant goals are worthwhile, and you know why. Worthwhile to you. I may say, I want to give away 30% of my income to helping others. That may be a relevant goal, but it may not be something I really feel like I should be doing deep down, so it may not be relevant. Time-based goals have an end date. I want to achieve this by this particular day. Another example. You have a long-term goal of owning a house by the time you are 40. Consequently, you set a goal of saving $24,000 for a down payment on a house within 5 years of graduation. You can then set smaller goals of saving $4,800 per year toward your down payment, and even set a monthly goal of saving $400 per month for 5 years. The planning component is how you accomplish these goals. Another goal is to retire by the time you're 55. Although this sounds like a specific goal, if you do not have other sub-goals along the way, it will not happen.